Another video. Today's video is gonna be about absolute value. Now, absolute value is simply the distance from 0 to any number. So it can be to the right, all the numbers to the right are positive number, and all the numbers to the left are negative numbers. But the absolute value is the distance from 0 to whatever number you're looking for. Okay? So let's say, and the absolute value sign is represented by two parallel bar or two parallel line. Okay, and usually you have the number in the middle. Let's say x represent any number, so that's the absolute value. If they ask you, if you see a number in between two parallel line, it means absolute value. Okay, so in this case we just put x because x can be any number. Now let's say you have this absolute value of 3. So absolute value of 3 will be the distance from 0 to the number. In this case, the distance is 1, 2, 3. So absolute value of 3 is simply 3. Okay? Now let's look at another example. Let's say we ask to find, let's say now we ask to find the absolute value of -3. So absolute value of the -3 is going to be the distance from 0 to -3. Now all you have to worry about is the distance 1, 2, 3. So when you're finding the absolute value of a negative number, all you have to worry about how many interval you take before you get to the number. So in this case is 1, 2, 3. So we don't take the sign into consideration when we're finding the absolute value. So it's just the distance from 0 to 3. The distance from 0 to -3 is 3. So absolute value of a negative number is always positive. Absolute value of a positive number is also positive. Okay? So absolute value is just the distance from 0 to that number. Now we actually find this absolute value. Absolute value of 4 and multiplying by a negative sign. In this case, you need to find the absolute value first, then you're multiplying by the negative sign. So it's not the same as before where we had the sign inside the absolute value. The sign is outside of the absolute value, so we need to find the absolute value first. So absolute value of 4 is the distance from 0. Absolute value of 4 is the distance from 0 to 4. So that's 4. Now, remember, this is the same as the 4 times the negative sign. So now you're going to carry the negative sign. Okay? So this is different from if you were to ask, find the absolute value of -4. In this case, you need to take the absolute value of the negative sign and 4. So it will be the distance from 0 to -4. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4 units. In this case, it will be +4. So this one, because the sign is outside, you find the absolute value first, then you bring in the sign. But here, because the sign is inside of the absolute value sign, you need to find the absolute value of the negative number. In this case, absolute value of -4 is 4. Okay. Now let's say we have this example. We asked to find the absolute value of the problem is absolute value of 5 plus 3. So absolute value of a positive number is positive. Bring down the plus 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8. So in this case, absolute value of 5 plus 3 is 5 plus 3, which is 8. Now let's say we have absolute value of -3 plus absolute value of 3. So in this case, we need to take this absolute value. Absolute value of a negative number is always positive. So this case is 3 plus absolute value of a positive number is also positive. So it's 3 plus 3 is 6. Another example, let's say we have absolute value of so first we need to take this absolute value, okay? Then because the negative sign is not inside the absolute value, so we cannot take the number with the sign. So we have to take the absolute value of the number first, then bringing down the sign. So in this case it's 5, absolute value of 5 is 5, and this is minus, this is negative, minus absolute value of 2 is 2. Okay, so now we have a minus 5 minus 2, and they have different sign. They have the same sign. We're gonna add them. That's 7, and because both numbers are negative, we bring down the negative sign. So the answer is negative 7. Let's say we have negative 5 plus negative absolute value of negative 3, absolute value of negative 5 plus absolute value of negative 3 minus 4. So first we have to take the absolute value of all the numbers. So this one is negative and absolute value will be positive because it's the distance from 0 to that number, and that's 5 plus absolute value of negative 3 also is positive 3 minus 4. So now we're left with order of operation, and you know that we always solve order of operation from left to right when we have minus and positive sign. So in this case 5 plus 2 is 8 minus 4. So 8 minus 4 is 4. Let's say we ask to solve this problem. Negative 3 plus 2, absolute value of negative 3 plus 2 plus 6. So first we're gonna follow the same rule that we follow for order of operation, where we have to solve what's inside the absolute value first. So negative 3 plus 2, because they have different signs, you're gonna subtract and you're gonna keep the sign of the larger number. So in this case, this is 1, and because 3 is larger and 3 is negative, the answer is negative 1, and plus 6. So you're going to do the same here. You're going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. When you subtract, that's 5. 6 is larger with the positive sign, so your answer is positive 5. Go ahead and pause the video and give those problems a try before you continue with the video. Absolute value of 2, absolute value of negative 4, and absolute value of negative 2 plus 5. All right, let's go ahead and solve them. You know, absolute value of 2 is a positive number, and the answer is going to be positive because it's a distance from 0 to 2. Absolute value of negative 4, a negative number, but you know the absolute value of negative 4 is the distance from 0 to the negative 4, and that's 4 units, so it's positive 4. So in this case, we need to simplify what's inside first. Negative 3 plus 5, and that's 2. We keep the sign of the larger number, which is 5. Now we have absolute value of 2, which is positive 2. That's another problem to try. Minus absolute value of 6. So because the minus is outside, you need to take the absolute value of 6 first. Absolute value of 6 is 6. Then you keep the minus sign. All right, we have two problems to try. The first one is absolute value of negative 5 plus 6 plus absolute value of negative 3. We're gonna go ahead and solve the absolute value first. And because we have -5 plus 6 and they have different sign, we're going to subtract. That's 1. And because 6 is greater, your answer is positive. But we still have the absolute value plus absolute value of -3. Now, absolute value of 1 is 1 plus absolute value of -3 is going to be a positive number. That's 3. Okay. Now 1 plus 3 is 4. Second problem, we have negative absolute value of 4 minus 3 plus absolute value of -5 plus 3. So let's go ahead and simplify the inside the absolute values. -5 plus 3, that's subtraction, that's 2, and 5 is larger with the negative sign, so your answer is -2. So now we have negative absolute value of 4 minus 3 plus absolute value of 2. This is a positive number, so absolute value of 4 is 4. Bring down the minus sign. Minus 3 plus absolute value of a -2 is going to be a positive number. Absolute value of a negative number is always positive, so that's 2. Now we're going to solve from left to right. -4 minus 3, same sign. You're going to add and keep the negative sign. -7 plus 2. Now the two numbers have different sign. -7 plus 2, you're going to subtract, that's 5. And because 7 is larger and it has a negative sign, that's -5. Alright, thank you guys for checking out the channel and watching another video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notification when I post another video.